In December 2017, Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales, known for his wild antics and viral videos, made the deadly mistake of insulting a notorious cartel boss on social media. What seemed like just another regular post turned into a fatal decision that cost him his life. Here are 4-time streamers messed with the wrong cartel. We'll start with the tragic story of Pamela Montenegro.
Pamela Montenegro, conocida como Nana Pelucas. Anoche 2 hombres le dispararon en su restaurante en el fraccionamiento Costa Azul. Fiscal Javier Olea informó que quien ordenó el crimen fue un grupo liderado por Javi Daniel Cervantes.
On December 4, 2016, Pamela Montenegro received a direct threat from the independent cartel of Acapulco. She didn't think too much of it at the time. After all, she had received threats before, but this one came from one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in Mexico. The independent cartel of Acapulco didn't issue warnings lightly, as Pamela would later find out. Pamela wasn't just any regular citizen. Back in 2012, she and her husband Samuel had founded Elian, an online news magazine focused on sharing uncensored news with their community. Prior to that, Pamela had built a name for herself as an actress on a local TV show aimed at young people. However, in 2015, she shifted her focus to satirical content, using platforms like YouTube to post videos where she played the role of La Nana Palace, a funny grandmother character. Dressed in wigs and oversized glasses, Pamela made people laugh, but beneath the humor was sharp, biting commentary aimed at corrupt officials, local politics, and the pervasive violence plaguing her home state of Guerrero. As her videos gained popularity, Pamela's voice became a beacon for many. She used her platform to call out injustice, criticize organized crime, and condemn the cartels that operated with impunity in Acapulco, one of Mexico's deadliest cities. With every post and every video, she was pushing back against a system entrenched in fear and violence. But her influence also painted a target on her back, and the threats against her started coming in more frequently. The independent cartel of Acapulco was a particularly dangerous group. Mysterious and secretive, they operated in the shadows, evading law enforcement while wreaking havoc on the city. Despite their stealth, their bloody fingerprints were all over the rampant crime and homicide rates in Acapulco. They were a group that demanded silence, and Pamela's vocal criticism of their activities was a direct challenge to their power. On December 4, 2016, a chilling warning appeared. Several narco-mantas, banners attributed to organized crime, were hung around Acapulco. These banners mentioned a Facebook page, Dinas Acapulco Sin Censura, which allowed citizens to report corruption, violence, and abuses of power. The banners claimed that Pamela was one of the administrators of the page and issued a grim ultimatum: take down the page or face the consequences. Pamela knew the stakes. She understood the power and reach of the cartel, but even in the face of mortal danger, she refused to back down. She continued producing her videos, calling out the violence that had taken root in her home, and she kept her Facebook page running, ensuring her community had a place to share information without fear of censorship. Then, on February 5, 2018, the threats became reality. Pamela was sitting in her restaurant, Atos Los Santos, in Acapulco, sharing a meal with her husband. It was just after 6 p.m. when 2 unidentified gunmen entered the restaurant. Without any warning, they walked directly toward Pamela and opened fire. She was shot multiple times in the face and stomach, killing her instantly. The news of Pamela's murder sent shockwaves through the community. It was a tragic, violent end for a woman who had dared to stand up to the cartel, using humor and satire to combat fear. As the investigation unfolded, there was hope that justice might be served. On August 28, 2018, local media reported that a suspect had been arrested in connection to Pamela's murder. The suspect, known as El Rusito, which translates to the Little Russian, had been involved in numerous violent crimes in Acapulco. However, despite the arrest, Pamela's case remained unresolved. The Committee to Protect Journalists listed it as unsolved 3 months later, and suspicions lingered that the independent cartel of Acapulco had orchestrated the assassination. The group's secretive nature made it difficult to prove their involvement, but the circumstantial evidence was undeniable. Pamela had publicly criticized them, and they had a history of silencing those who dared to speak out. In the end, Pamela Montenegro's fate stands as a stark reminder of the price paid for confronting organized crime in one of the most dangerous parts of Mexico. Her story is one of courage and tragedy, where her bravery in the face of overwhelming danger could not protect her from the brutal reality of life in a cartel-controlled city. Ruben Ortega. In August 2022, Mexico tragically lost a beloved YouTuber and cultural icon, Ruben Ortega, known to his fans as Super Chinelo. What began as a routine evening with his family took a deadly turn, leaving the online world and his community stunned. Ruben's untimely death wasn't just a random act of violence. It unraveled a chilling conspiracy linked to cartel violence and corruption. Ruben, a 45-year-old content creator from Iztapaluca, Mexico, was more than just an entertainer. He had a passion for preserving Mexican traditions, particularly the vibrant dances of his homeland. His online presence, spread across platforms like YouTube and TikTok, centered around celebrating the colorful Chinelo dance, an indigenous cultural performance originating in Morelos. Adopting the persona of Super Chinelo, complete with a distinctive red mask, Ruben was a tireless advocate for keeping Mexican traditions alive. His videos documented the essence of local celebrations, interviews with community leaders, and events that resonated deeply with his followers. However, what seemed like a simple life, filled with dance, joy, and local pride, masked something darker. Ruben's outspoken nature, especially his criticisms of corruption and violence plaguing Mexico, may have made him a target. Some speculate that he unknowingly stepped on the toes of powerful figures, either in the political sphere or the criminal underworld. Mexico, at the time, was a country deeply entrenched in violence, as drug cartels vied for control over territories and resources, often leaving behind a trail of bloodshed. Ruben's content, though focused on culture, also reflected his frustration with these issues, occasionally criticizing the cartel's dominance and the government's inability to protect its citizens. On August 31, 2022, Ruben's life was violently cut short. After returning home with his family, he parked his car and got out to open the gate to their house, as he had done countless times before. But this time, two armed men approached with chilling precision. Without warning, they opened fire at point-blank range. Ruben was hit multiple times and died instantly. His wife, who had been sitting in the car, was also struck by the gunfire but survived the brutal attack. Their son, though physically unharmed, witnessed the entire horrific event, a trauma that would likely haunt him for life. Neighbors, startled by the gunshots, rushed to call the police, but by the time authorities arrived, it was too late for Ruben. His body lay lifeless on the ground, a stark reminder of the dangerous reality that many in Mexico face daily. Investigators began probing the murder, but the motive remained unclear. Some speculated that Ruben's assassination could have been linked to his criticism of corrupt political groups, or even the drug cartels he occasionally spoke against in his content. Others believed it might have been part of the broader wave of violence that had gripped the nation, with innocent lives often caught in the crossfire of cartel feuds and political struggles. At the time of Ruben's death, Mexico was enduring a spike in cartel-related homicides. Entire towns were being terrorized, and high-profile killings were becoming disturbingly common. While it remains unclear whether Ruben's death was directly linked to cartel activity or if he simply crossed paths with the wrong people, the fact that his murderers remain at large only adds to the sense of injustice surrounding his death. News of Ruben's assassination spread rapidly across social media, shocking his fans and followers who had come to admire his energy, positivity, and love for Mexican traditions. Despite the many questions surrounding his death, Ruben's legacy continues to live on through his work. His videos, documenting the lively and beautiful traditions of Mexico, remain a source of inspiration for his fans. Though justice for Ruben has yet to be served, his legacy as Super Chinelo will forever be etched in the hearts of those he touched, ensuring that the culture he fought so hard to preserve will never be forgotten. Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales.
Yo no me pongo a traer lo que sea. Así que el metro a mí me pega a ver.
In 2017, Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales, otherwise known as El Pirata de Culiacán, or the Pirate of Culiacán, was a rising star on social media. He was a young guy who lived his life out loud, known for his wild antics, partying, and most notably, his excessive drinking. At just 17, Juan was already an online sensation, gathering over 1 million followers on Facebook and 300,000 more on Instagram. His signature blend of chaotic fun and carefree living made him a hit, especially in Sinaloa, the region famously linked to El Chapo and his notorious cartel. Juan's youthful energy, charisma, and rebellious spirit may have brought him widespread fame, but it also attracted the wrong kind of attention. Born in Culiacán, Juan's life didn't start with the glitz and glam of internet stardom. His mother left him with his grandmother when he was just a boy, and he never met his father. Despite this challenging upbringing, Juan found a way to make a name for himself, first by washing cars, and later by becoming the life of every party. His infectious personality and his taste for risk caught the eye of local partygoers, and soon, his crazy videos videos of excessive drinking went viral, but fame has a way of blinding people. Juan's rise was meteoric, and like many young influencers, he didn't quite realize the weight of his words. He posted pictures of himself alongside luxury cars, guns, and women, feeding into a persona that was as controversial as it was popular. What made it worse? He wasn't even 18 yet. Juan's life was set to take a more positive turn when he met Beto Sierra, a social media expert who saw potential in Juan beyond his drinking videos. Beto encouraged Juan to start exploring more professional ventures, like launching his own merchandise and even dabbling in singing. For a brief moment, it seemed like Juan was on the right track. He had hopes of moving away from the reckless image that had defined him for so long, but old habits die hard. Despite his attempts at change, Juan couldn't stay away from what had brought him fame in the first place: booze-fueled antics and bravado. And that's when he made the fatal mistake. One night, Juan made a video that would seal his fate. He mocked Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known to the world as El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most dangerous cartels in Mexico. El Mencho isn't just another name in the drug underworld. This man is feared by many, with both the Mexican and U.S. governments offering millions for information leading to his capture. He's responsible for some of the most brutal acts of violence in Mexico, including the mass execution of civilians and the ambush killing of 15 police officers in 2015. El Mencho didn't rise to this level of power by tolerating disrespect, and unfortunately for Juan, his drunken insult didn't go unnoticed. Juan, likely not thinking of the consequences, taunted El Mencho in a viral video. In Culiacan, where violence is an ever-present shadow, mocking a cartel leader is no different from signing your own death warrant. It's December 18, 2017, and Juan is partying with friends in a bar in Jalisco. It's a typical night for the young influencer, full of booze, laughter, and loud music. But this night is different. Around 11 p.m., a group of armed men stormed the bar and opened fire. In a hail of bullets, Juan was struck at least 15 times. The attack was swift, brutal, and final. A 25-year-old waiter was also caught in the crossfire and later died in the hospital. The attack was so severe that the authorities couldn't immediately identify Juan's body. His signature tattoos eventually helped them identify him. Though officials couldn't conclusively say who ordered the hit, it was widely believed that Juan's disrespectful comments towards El Mencho had led to his tragic demise. There are lines you just don't cross, no matter how invincible fame might make you feel. Messing with powerful cartels, like the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, is one of those lines. And for Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales, his playful jab at the cartel cost him his life. Jorge Luis.
¿Qué show, mi gente? Feliz inicio de semana para todos. Ya se nos acabaron las vacaciones a los que pudimos tener vacaciones, plebada, ahora cingarle. Yo aquí vengo a hacer vueltas a los bancos, a ver.
It all started with a simple Instagram video on April 18, 2022. Jorge Luis, known online as El Compa Jorge, uploaded a casual live stream mentioning his location. Little did he know, this would lead to a fatal encounter with the cartel. Jorge, a YouTuber with over 62,000 subscribers, was passionate about cars, particularly UTVs. His content started with vlogs and storytelling but soon shifted to showcasing his expensive car collection. But this flashy lifestyle caught the wrong kind of attention. Violent cartels, always watching for anything suspicious, started suspecting Jorge of having ties to El Chapo and the infamous Sinaloa cartel. The trouble had begun even earlier in 2021. Jorge shared an experience that would haunt him, being kidnapped by cartel members. The event left him terrified, struggling with anxiety and fear for his life. He couldn't even stop at red lights without being scared that someone was coming for him again. Jorge's kidnapping happened in a chilling, almost random sequence of events. He had been out with a friend when that friend asked for a favor, to give someone a ride. Without thinking much of it, Jorge agreed. But as they drove, something felt off. At one point, he stopped the car to use the bathroom when suddenly, another car pulled up. A man with a rifle claimed to be from the authorities, and before Jorge could process what was happening, he was tied up, blindfolded, and interrogated about his wealth. They didn't believe him when he said he made money from a tortilla shop and YouTube. Instead, they assumed he must have cartel connections to afford such a fancy car. His kidnappers hit him, threatened him, and taunted him, making it clear they were in control. Desperate, Jorge begged them to at least leave his body where his family could find it if they killed him. Strangely, this plea worked. They let him go, but the trauma lingered. Despite the horror, Jorge returned to YouTube. He continued making videos, even revisiting the site of his kidnapping. His decision to resume his car vlogs and even talk about encounters with cartel figures, including one of El Chapo's sons, attracted even more attention. Rival cartels weren't amused. Then came that fateful day in April. Jorge had gone to the bank and, in an Instagram post, casually mentioned his trip. He didn't realize the danger that awaited him. Just 45 minutes after that upload, gunmen intercepted him as he approached his home. They fired without warning, shooting him multiple times before speeding off in a gray Toyota SUV. Paramedics arrived quickly, but the damage was done. Despite their efforts, Jorge was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. The police believe the shooters were from a rival cartel, seeking revenge or targeting him due to his perceived connections to Sinaloa. And yet, his killers remain at large, another unsolved case in the brutal world of cartel violence. Jorge's tragic story stands as a grim reminder of the risks that come with fame, especially in regions dominated by dangerous cartels. His story leaves an unsettling question. Was it his lifestyle that made him a target, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Either way, one thing is clear. No matter who you are or where you are from, you can't mess with the cartel.